first of all, thank you all for being here. We know that you guys traveled from all over. Some of you guys are close, which is awesome and super lucky for you. But some of you guys came from really far away, and so we just want to say thank you. I heard yesterday was awesome with this Q&A time. I just have a few really specific things that I want to share with you guys, and then we can do a little bit more Q&A. I just want to stress how, especially with this age group, little of the time you guys have while you parents are still cool. I work with a ton of players across all different age groups. I coach catchers, and you have a very short window right now where your kid will listen to you, and your kid thinks that you are Superman or Wonder Woman or whoever, right? But like, they think you're cool right now. Guess what? In a few years, they're not. Maybe they still will. Hopefully they still will. But like, you have this really short window of time, and like I shared yesterday, we had one of our common mentors in college. He had us. He would just repeat this over and over and over. My goal is to get more adults in the lives of kids. My goal is to get more adults in the lives of kids. And right now, you guys just have such a tremendous opportunity to do that. And I think that so often we just forget how much time we have. I have a 2-year-old daughter already. I'm like, oh my gosh, that went so fast. I'm sure all of you guys feel that same exact way. And just, my wife hates it when I do this, but I'm like, dude, she's gonna get married someday. And she's like, stop saying that. And I'm like, but like, that's inept, like it's gonna happen. And you know, it makes me be more present and more intentional right now. And so I love to just kind of twist that knife for you guys to try to help you get more intentional with it. Now, there's just a few short things. I have really 3 other main things that I want to share. After working with hundreds of players and really families from across the country, there are 3 big things that I've seen change relationships and change the dynamics that parents and kids can have. And so the first thing is actually going to be the phone. Okay, this is one of the most powerful things that you can do, and it's funny because the phone causes a lot of problems, but it can also fundamentally change how you communicate. The biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems that we see with players and parents, is oftentimes if I'm the parent and Coach Rack is the player, we'll be doing work together. Dude, get your hands down. My hands are down, Dad. No, you gotta get them on the ground. You're not even on the ground. No, my hands are already on the ground. I know, I've watched more videos than you, Dad. You didn't even play baseball. Yeah? Yeah, I know, because I've seen that many times, okay? And what we have found, and this is part of the reason that we love making the videos that we love, is if you can just go like this and record it, be like, hey, what'd you see right there? There's 2 really, really fundamental shifts that happen in communication that are gonna prepare you to have more important conversations beyond baseball, but it strengthens the muscle of having good communication. 1, we literally got physically on the same side rather than being against and being combative. That alone changes so much, especially for your kid. When you are on the same side, on the same team, rather than against one another, the relationship fundamentally changes. The other thing that happens is when you say, hey, what do you see there? You're opening up a question-based conversation. And you're building trust, you're building that muscle to be able to actually communicate. And so this is probably one of the biggest things that I have seen transform relationships. I talked to a number of people today as well. They're like, yeah, you know, it's so funny. Like, I've been telling my kid, you know, you gotta get your glove down when you block, or, you know, you gotta slide on with your hips back. I tell him that all the time because I see your videos. And then all of a sudden he sees one of your videos and he's like, Dad, check this out. You gotta get your glove down when you block, and you gotta get your hips back. And he's like, dude, I've been telling you that for 2 years. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just need someone else to tell them that. And that's a big part of the reason that we're trying to really help make content that can equip you guys. Second thing, probably the best thing that my dad did for me growing up was he just spent time with me and listened. And that was just so valuable. My dad wasn't a perfect dad, just as none of you will be perfect dads, none of your dads were perfect. But the thing that he nailed was, I remember this was my junior year of high school, and he would wake up at 6 a.m. with me every day. We would go hit in the cage because I was really serious about baseball. And he didn't push me, but every time, he did push me, but every time I wanted to go, he was there with me. And he would wake up at 6 a.m. with me, we would go hit, and a lot of times we would go hit at night too, because I was crazy, because I wanted to go win. And the thing that he would do is he would just toss me, and then he would hit with me, and then I would stop and I would talk, and he would just listen. I will forever be grateful for that, because it was just so special. And like so many of you guys, like one of the most important things that you can do is just go do the work with them and just listen. Because as soon as you start to really just create space that you can talk, like you would be amazed at what the kids will tell you. And again, that opens up that same communication pattern that we're talking about. Because right now, you might be talking about baseball, but in a few years, you're probably gonna be talking about a whole lot of other stuff, and you want that muscle, you want that path like already there. Okay, last thing that I'll say. Again, I work with a lot of different players and families. I see people on two sides of the spectrum when it comes to baseball. Parents are typically like, I don't push him at all. It's totally led by him, and I just support him. Or they're over here on the other end, and they're driving. And here's the thing. Neither one of those is right, and neither one of those is wrong. And what I would encourage you to do is to ask them what they want. Okay, I'm gonna pause here because this is really important. They may want you to drive them, or they may want you to let them be. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. But the thing that you have to do is you need to have a conversation about it. And if you can ask them, I've talked again to so many parents, very few parents have had this conversation, and I think that is where so much friction happens, because the friction comes from mismatched expectations. If they want it and you're giving it to them, they're pumped. If they don't want it and you're giving it to them, that's where that friction comes in. And so just simply asking them, what do you want from me as a parent? Do you want me to push you? Do you want me to just like let you be? That one question can completely change your relationship. So those are the big three things that I love this. This is one of my favorite times of this camp, because again, these guys watch us all the time. They love being around us. We're gonna absolutely use that to push them to work harder, to be better people, all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, we're only here for 2 days, right? The real people who are doing the work is the parents at home. And so our goal is really to equip you as much as we can. So again, thank you all for coming out here. And do you want to say anything else, or should we open it up for Q&A?
I think you nailed it. Open up for Q&A.
Okay, thank you guys. Any questions?
I help coach my kids' baseball team, and during the 10 to 11U age, there is a big learning gap of resilience, of emotional and mental resilience. What advice would y'all give for parents and or coaches to help develop that in them?
Repeat the question real quick.
So how do you develop mental resilience in, say, age like 10 to 11? Is that about right? Every kid's different. Some kids, every kid's different, but at least in my experience and what I've seen, the most helpful way to develop resilience is sitting alongside your kids as they struggle, because inevitably Your kid's gonna struggle if they play baseball. Like, that's part of the deal. There's a select few kids that I've played with who like just never struggled really. They were pretty much just always the best, and occasionally would have a game there where they struggle. The vast majority of players who play baseball are going to have those games where they struggle. So and when they struggle, they know that they are struggling, and they don't need you to tell them that they are struggling. So that's the first thing. Like, if you want to build resilience in them, don't think that by you hammering on their mistakes is going to somehow help them build that. They don't need that. In my experience, that only creates more animosity between you and them. When you can, however though, when you can sit alongside them and don't even give them any advice, just sit with them. Oh, they had a bad game, they struck out 3 times. Don't tell them why they struck out 3 times. At least not that day, right? Again, this goes back to what Ange was saying about getting on the same side of the problem as them. The thing you guys have to remember about your kids is every single one of them would love to make you proud. Every single one of them would love to be that star baseball player and would love to hear good job, well done from you. Every single kid wants to hear that. It's built into our nature. So you can rest assured that when your kid strikes out, they didn't want to. When your kid throws the ball away, they didn't want to. Now, you may know the cause as to why it happened, or you may think you know the cause as to why it happened. I'll tell you, as a baseball coach that's been coaching for a long time, who has gotten trained under literally the best coaches in the entire world, a lot of times those guys don't even know what went wrong. They often don't. So I guess that my first encouragement to you guys is, if you think you know what's wrong with their swing, you don't. You don't. Like, if Barry Bonds watched their swing, he might not know what's wrong with their swing. That is how complex baseball is. So I think we all need a healthy dose of humility when it comes to baseball. You don't know as much about the game as you think you know. You might think you have the answers, you probably don't. That being said, in addition to that, even if you do have the answers, the way that you communicate it also varies person to person, and what one kid needs to hear swing down, the other kid needs to hear swing up, and you need to learn how they communicate. All that being said, for you to give immediate correction, oh, you went over 3 strikeouts, here's why, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. There's never a time where that's helpful that I have seen. So keep that in mind. When they are struggling, you want to build that mental resilience, sit next to them, sit alongside them. And if they want to take video of their swing after the game, maybe they're like, gosh, I'm so frustrated, I don't know what to do. Be like, hey, do you want me to throw you batting practice? I can set up a phone and we can maybe watch video, see what it looks like. Maybe send it to a coach and see if he sees anything. Does that work? Like, do that. Like that's getting on the same side of the problem with them. And I think you'll find over time that will strengthen your relationship with them and also build a lot more mental resilience, because again, they're trying to just make you proud when they play, and when that's one less thing they have to worry about if they know that you are proud of them regardless of how they perform on the field. So keep that in mind, get on the same side as them, as the problem, and I think that's the best way to develop mental resilience, and that we should all as coaches have a healthy dose of humility, understanding that this game is so much harder than we think it is.
Yeah, one more quick note on that. In terms of developing resilience, I think setting expectations that it's going to be hard is really important, and also seeing the parent themselves work through things is also really impactful. Okay, let's go to next question here.
Talk to me about going from Little League to like select ball.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
That
so,
process.
Yeah, so what should we think about when we go from Little League to select ball? Are you talking specifically about like the bases getting bigger?
No, just like when do y'all see you think it's time
when is
for
it time?
a kid?
It's different for everyone. It's totally different for everyone. The unfortunate thing about youth sports is that it has turned into a money grab, right? It's really unfortunate. There's no better way to teach resilience and other sorts of skills than through sports, but it has become a highly profitable business model for people preying on parents, saying, hey, you're behind, your kid's behind, you need to do this in order to catch up. And it's just really unfortunate. So the thing that I would focus on, in terms of what you would want to focus on, I would cultivate love for the game, and I would focus on skill development and reps. Does anyone know who Mike Matheny is? A few hands? Okay, great. Yep, and so he wrote a book called The Matheny Manifesto. This is crazy. He went from coaching Little Leaguers, just like this, like a 12-year-old team, to then managing the Cardinals in the span of like 3 months or whatever. And he wrote this thing called the Matheny Manifesto. You should go read it. In there, he said there was one common characteristic that every major league player that he ever coached with or played with had, and it was that someone who understood the game when the player was young, worked with them on the fundamentals outside of normal practice. That was the one common thing. And so when it comes to travel ball versus, playing in the league, I would focus on cultivating a love for the game, because that's the thing that's going to help them continue to persevere, and I would focus on skill development. And if you do that and getting strong, a lot of the youth are really weak. That's just the reality. They need to get stronger if they want to play at a high level, and they should just get stronger, period. So that's my answer there.
Yeah. I'll add one more tangible thing onto that. Just know that when colleges are predominantly looking at players, it's ages 16 to 18. It's the general age range. And so if there is a time to spend money on a showcase, and again, a lot of those, we don't necessarily agree with a lot of the way those things are ran, but people do get seen through showcases.
Yeah.
So I would say age 12, 13, any age of the kids on here, there's 0 point in doing any sort of showcase. It doesn't matter. No one cares what you did when you were 12, 13. The best player I ever played with in my life, the most standout player, was the best player ever when he was 12 and never ended up playing in college. I passed him up when I was 17. And that is a common thread. So just know, if there is a time to do a showcase and just to spend the money and go through that process, and the one thing I would have maybe done differently when I was growing up, I didn't go to a single showcase. Might have done that around age 16 or 17, probably 17. Age 17 is when I had grown into my man body a little bit more, and I actually had something, worth showing at a showcase. That's when it was time. But you guys need to be look yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Is my kid good enough? Really, is my kid good enough? Or should we focus on getting better, right? Because if they're not good enough, that's totally fine. They might get there. They might even be a late bloomer. They might get there when they're 19 or 20, and those people still can make great careers. But just understand, you got to be honest with yourself. And are we focusing on skill development, or have we already focused on skill development and now it's time to show it off, right? But so many times people, show off before there's anything to show off.
It's true. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we're from a really small town, and rec league is pretty much it's really, really low. So we have some dads who have put a select team together, and we travel to Dallas, Houston. My question is, when is the time for the dads to kind of step aside and maybe hire in coaches?
Okay, good question. From a really small town, put together a select team to be able to travel to Dallas and Houston. When's the time for the dads to hire someone instead of coaching the team themselves? Again, it's so situational, right? And
I mean, one of them's my husband, so I'm kind of biased.
Yeah.
But it is a question.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the reality. If you're in a small town, there might not be that many people to hire, right? And so, again, I heard this in a TikTok, but it's the number one rule of entrepreneurship, which is really anything, is use what you have. Use what you have. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is we want to be resourceful. Wait, what's the quote?
You don't lack the resources, you lack the resourcefulness.
That's it. So it's not that you lack the actual stuff, you lack the ability to put it together or the ability to find it. So I work with a ton of people online through small towns because there's not a catching coach within a 5-hour drive. And so then we do video stuff. Now, you're running an actual team, and so I would say, I don't know, if they don't like him, maybe get someone else, or maybe if you just want more time with him, that's a conversation that you want to have, right? But ultimately, you just gotta figure out what's right for you. Yeah.
I mean, they all play college, so they are very
Yeah.
It's just they're kind of trying to find the balance of when is it time to step aside and let.
As a dad.
Yes. Yeah.
So, my dad coached me all the way up until high school, and it was awesome because he was great and he was good at coaching, and I would have actually been sad if he had not coached because he was he knew baseball more than most people. And now at the same time, did your dad ever coach you? As on a team?
Yeah. My dad coached me on a team until I was maybe 12 or 13. But that being he would have. kept coaching. I would have loved for him to keep coaching me up until I was in college. And when I was in college, he would go throw me batting practice. I was ultimately my own best coach. I had other people pour into me, and like my high school coach just so happened to play in the big leagues, so that helped a lot. But I watched video, I got resourceful, and watched videos that I did have and compared videos of my swing to their swing, and then tried to mimic it, and like did so many things wrong, but it got me to be able to play at Division I level. It got me to getting drafted and signed. So there's like, I was still able to make it even though I didn't have the coaching. Like I never did private lessons. And would that have been helpful? Yeah, maybe it would have been. But I did find a way to figure it out. And my dad was with me the whole way. If he wasn't there to throw me batting practice every day, would not have made it that far. Like definitely would not have even played in college, maybe not have even played in high school. But my dad was willing to throw me batting practice and keep his mouth shut, and that was it. And that was all I needed, quite frankly. Would it have been helpful to have some like really good coaching along the way? Yeah, absolutely. That stuff does help. But I would say, especially this day and age with social media, like, I mean, go follow Ian Jenkins. Seriously, I've said it before, but like, go follow Ian Jenkins and watch his hitting videos and learn. Because legitimately, just by using social media, you guys can get so far ahead of so many people out there. And the beautiful thing about social media is algorithm based. You will see the best stuff. The best stuff will show up on your feed. So anyways, that's my little spiel, but seriously, you don't lack the resources, you lack the resourcefulness.
Yeah, and one more thing, because I think maybe the heart of the question is actually, when's the right time for me to stop being coach and be dad? And again, that's a conversation to have. But I would say, even if you aren't the most qualified coach, I would venture to say if you had to pick one or the other, your kid would probably rather you coach as long as you're not making it worse for them, if that makes sense. And again, if you are making it worse for them, that could just be something that you need to shift in your communication. So again, very situationally, but I think that kids appreciate way more than they let on that you're spending time with them. And I think they understand it, but I don't think that they always acknowledge it, which is why it sometimes feels like they don't acknowledge it to you at all. Okay, let's get a few more.
Yeah, whether from personal experience or advice, what do you think is best? What do you suggest to help kids cultivate a healthy respect for the game and love as they're growing through it? Especially as it starts getting into more competitive levels. Yeah.
So the question is, how do we best help cultivate healthy respect and love for the game?
Yeah.
I would say
Really thinking about like self-talk and pressure that you put on yourself, right? As well as parents and outside voices. What did you guys do to kind of battle that and work through that? Advice on that would be great.
Okay. You got anything on that? I think so. Kind of two questions. How do we help cultivate a healthy respect and love for the game? I would say story is probably one of the most powerful things. If you could tell stories and show stories of people doing that, that gives them the framework to be able to understand it and apply it. I feel like a lot of times it's almost like, I feel like kids' brains are almost like a software. Like you have to like install the program or like the way to, like if they don't have the software, they can't do the thing. And so like showing them what it actually looks like to have that healthy respect for and love of the game, working through mental things. Like if you can show them stories of that, I think that goes really far.
And I guess that's where I guess social media again I think becomes valuable because you can hear the stories of people who've been there, done that, and Lord willing, that's something Ange and I can do with our social medias as well, is share our story with that stuff and how we dealt with the things that came up, and we're gonna keep making videos, so hopefully those serve to be helpful.
Okay, I have a question. For someone, okay, so for instance, I'm here with my nephew. Mom never played baseball. There's no one in our family that really watched baseball growing up. We're first generation here, so like there wasn't, soccer was big for my family, but baseball is something that he's passionate about. I started playing softball to try to learn a little bit about like the fundamentals, but what else can I do to help him if we don't know anything?
Actually, real quick, do you want to give him like a 2-minute warning? Give me 1 second. Brace yourselves, I'm gonna be loud for a second. All right, let's start bringing up those groups. Start wrapping up about 2 to 3 more minutes, and then bring it back up over here to the center for those deep dive sessions. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome question.
I love this. The announcer voice. Sorry, Vinny.
He's got the announcer voice, the YouTube voice, the regular voice. But so the question is, I never really played baseball. I'm really getting into this for the first time. How do I help them the best? First of all, I just applaud you for finding the thing that he's loving and going there rather than forcing what you love onto him. I think that that's so important. The other thing that I would say is he knows that you guys don't know baseball, okay? He knows. He probably has told you, but that is where, again, if you can leverage a third party is so helpful. The other thing that I'll say, again, I work with a ton of people and parents and moms online because the dad will work, and so I'll work with these catchers and the mom is like, oh, I can't throw the ball to him. I'm like, trust me, you can throw the ball to him. You don't have to throw it that hard. We're working on fundamental skills, and you can go like this, and you can go like this. And even if you're bad at throwing, guess what? You, just like your kids, can get better. Yes, it is possible. They appreciate you helping them. And so just applaud you for following their interests and not putting your own on them, and then even going and playing softball to figure it out. That's awesome. Yeah.
I have a question about players whenever they have an error and they get really aggressive on themselves, start throwing helmets, throwing bats, kicking stuff in the dugout, not wanting anybody to tell them it's okay or pat them on the back. And even when we leave them alone, it's still not helping. Do you suggest anything to help them bring it in a little bit and not break stuff and not just rage Hulk out? Like,
I got this question yesterday too. Yeah, so sometimes kids when they get out, definitely not me, I wouldn't do this. When you get out, you just get like so frustrated and mad and kind of like Hulk out and maybe throw a helmet or something. Again, I wouldn't do that, but a lot of baseball players, pretty much every single one who plays except for me, does that and gets so frustrated when it happens. And like, I'll give you an example. Like a couple weeks ago, I was working on something very specific in my swing. I kept popping the ball up, like my bat angle was too steep, whatever it was. I ended up in practice all week working on this one thing. And I also worked on laying off of the off-speed pitch low and away. Worked on laying off it. I literally had this machine set up and I just kept watching pitches over and over again. And then I changed the machine and then I set it to like a pitch that I do want to hit and I started hitting those. And then I started having a coach do soft toss and mix it up. And it actually helped. I got better at pitch selection because of that. But then we get into the game and it's a pressure situation. Runners are on base. I'm batting cleanup. I need to get those runners in. I have to do that. Like that is my job. We're playing in Cincinnati. We're in front of like 40,000 people. We're in a big league ballpark. I had just been working on this thing all week. And I swung and missed through a changeup low and away to strike out with runners on base. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was just working on this all week. That is so frustrating. Baseball is so frustrating. And there's really no way around that. That being said, how I deal with it now, like I walk back to the dugout and everyone's gonna deal with it differently. I have learned over time to take a deep breath in as I'm walking back, take a deep breath out. And like I'm mad, I'm so mad, and there's no way around that. But I take my helmet off, set it down, take my batting gloves off. And all right, I'm just gonna be better next time, and that's that. But I figured out a way to like bridle it, but like, it's taken time to get there. One thing I will say will not help, for sure will not help, is if you get on their case when they fail. If you get on their case when they mess up, it's gonna fuel that anger. It's going to let them know that it's okay because you're getting angry too. So do not get mad at them. When they mess up, like across the board, they don't want to mess up, they don't want to strike out. That's the first thing. Don't get mad at it, don't fuel the fire, okay? And then with that, sometimes it feels like you are doing nothing when you say nothing and let them be. Sometimes I think there's a place for discipline, like if a kid hurts somebody, throws their helmet, sure, there's a place for discipline. I'll let you use your own discretion there. That being said, there is plenty of times where kids just beat down and frustrated and mad, and maybe they're not even doing anything, they're just upset. And I know you as a parent don't want to see them that way, and you're like, okay, what can I do to cheer them up? What can I do to let them see the positives of this? What can I do to let them have this be a learning experience and not a bad one that beats them down because they're so beat down? Let them be beat down and sit down right next to them. You good? What do you want to eat? What do you want? Do you want ice cream? All right, let's do it. You know, that stuff is helpful because it lets them know that they care about you regardless of how they perform, and they need to hear that. So just be encouraged, just you sitting there, even if you do nothing and they're just frustrated, that's something they're gonna have to work out on their own. And I think a lot of times they know they shouldn't be mad. I know I shouldn't be mad. I know that getting angry doesn't help me. One thing I will say that maybe you can put part upon your kids, and I know I'm being long here, but I'll wrap it up in a second. One thing that is really helpful for me is I have gotten it through my head that me being mad is not gonna help me play any better. I can get as mad as humanly possible, and it's not like in a precise sport like baseball, it does not help me. It hurts me when I get mad and I go into my next at-bat trying to do too much. That's when I end up playing worse. And so you can try and maybe when it's the right time, not right after it happens, but maybe the day after, impart that wisdom upon them and just say, hey, just so you know, like with the big leaguers, like you rarely see them throwing their stuff. It does happen. They throw their stuff, they get mad for sure. But a lot of times when a big leaguer strikes out, they walk back to the dugout as if nothing happens, set their helmet down, grab their glove, and they go play the field. Why do they do that? Because they're the best in the world at it. And they know that if they ride the emotional roller coaster of going up and down, they will not be consistent over the course of a 162-game season. Consistency is the name of the game with baseball, and the best way to be consistent is to be level-headed and right here. So it does not help you getting angry, and understanding that here really helps me change that anger when I play. But it's a natural response, and I think that it shows that they care, so you don't have to beat it out of them, just be there with them.
Yeah, and to the question, what should I do if my kid's getting really angry if they get out? I think 3 things. Number 1, understand it's positive. The reason they're getting mad is because they care a lot. Number 2, this is a little bit of a check for the parents, but kids are really good imitators. And I have a 2-year-old daughter, and she imitates me, and if your kid is getting really bad, there may be someone, whether it's you or someone else, who's getting mad, and it may be a great little check for yourself. You're like, oh shoot, that's actually something I need to work on too. And then the third thing, I think I forgot the third thing.
First 2 were great.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to go there. I forgot the third one. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Luckily, it's not my kid, it's his teammates, and I love his teammates. They're amazing. Man, they messed up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, you know what? I remember the third thing. The third thing is story. Like I was talking about earlier about like the software, like knowing what the path is. Like if you can find a story where it's like, hey, this guy always got mad, and then guess what? As soon as he learned to control his emotions, then he started to play better. If you can communicate that, or if there's a video like that, and there's a video like that, then that oftentimes will help too. Yeah. Okay, great. Great.
Okay, we'll do.
Put that on your to-do list.
Yeah, let's get everyone over.
Parents, thank you so much. Let's clap it up for Ange. I love this time. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for how much you guys care about your kids. It's evident, and you have some wonderful young men and young ladies here, so thank you guys.